What do you think about a $100 hamburger? Hello and welcome. Welcome to Input English. Today's topic is the $100 hamburger. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? Well, it actually is, except that it's a metaphor. A lot of times expressions in various languages, if they sound absurd, may be a metaphor. In a recent video, I talked about the camera, but I didn't call it the camera. I called it a one-eyed monster. It's a metaphor. That is, you say one thing, but you mean something else, and you are just playing games with the language. Playing games with people understanding you, but you're not doing it in a malicious or mean-spirited way. It's just the way the language works. We use metaphors. So, now that I've gotten that out of the way, what's this $100 hamburger all about? Well, it was invented, the idea was invented and talked about decades ago, and it comes from general aviation. So, if you look in the sky and you see an airplane, it may be a jetliner, an airliner, and that's not general aviation, that's airlines. That's passengers like you and me buying tickets and being flown on an airline. Now, when I talk about general aviation, I'm talking about small airplanes. One engine, two engines, occasionally three engines, and therefore transporting smaller groups of people, perhaps just one person. So, if a pilot rents an airplane or has an airplane and flies himself or family members or friends, that's general aviation. I got my pilot's license in the 1990s, and shortly thereafter, I purchased an airplane. Now, our airplane was not a luxury, it was a business. That is, I made arrangements that airplane was, of course, available to me to fly, but it was available to other people to fly, and they paid us to fly that airplane. So we actually made income from our little business of renting out our little airplane. It was not an extravagance where I was just wasting money. No, it actually made money. Great. When you are earning your pilot's license, it is required that you do certain things to qualify. And there are a whole bunch of regulations. You have to learn the regulations, and then you have to follow the regulations. In order to get pilot's licenses or more advanced ratings, you have to do something called a cross-country. That is, you have to leave your airport, fly away, fly a distance, land at another airport, and then come back. These cross-country trips are required. Now, pilots are very conscientious. By definition, they're conscientious because they're staking their life on their skills. They're also staking the lives of their passengers on their skills. So as a group, pilots take this flying business very seriously. They want to be safe. And one of the best ways to be safe is to make good decisions. And good decisions come with training and experience. Decades ago, it was observed that pilots would take off, do a cross-country trip, but when they were at the other airport, they would have lunch or another meal. They would eat a hamburger. They would eat something, frequently a hamburger, because airports frequently have little diners or restaurants right there at the airport. An alternative is frequently the airport will have a car that you can borrow. There are automobiles at airports that are owned for the purpose of a pilot coming in and borrowing that car to leave the airport and do an errand or get some food or something like that. So I have flown into airports, borrowed the airport car, and gone for a meal, and then returned. When a pilot makes a trip like this, travels an hour or two, has a meal, and returns, that is called a $100 hamburger. The expense is not the purchase of the hamburger, that is a few dollars, yes. The expense is the expense of the aircraft, renting the aircraft, or fuel for the aircraft, or the maintenance expense for the aircraft. All these expenses for the aircraft add up to a lot of money. Back when this term of art was invented, the $100 hamburger, flying a 172 Cessna, like what we had, an hour or two was going to cost you about $100. Now, if you wanted to invent this term of art, you'd probably call it a $300 hamburger. So now as you analyze this term, a $100 hamburger, it no longer sounds unreasonable. It no longer sounds like a great waste of money, because in reality, the purpose of the trip was to build skills for the pilot, and the use of the term $100 hamburger was just a metaphor. So, hope you enjoyed this little discussion of metaphors and the $100 hamburger. I invite comments below, and I hope you join us in future videos. See you soon.